Alright, so today we're going to continue on with 9.3. We'll actually finish it up. And today is the 6th. This is section 9.3. And this is going to be our second day of doing this. So I'll say it's multiplying, dividing, and simplifying rational expressions. Alright, so I have 6 examples for us today. They're all should be pretty easy for us. This is day 2. And let's just get right into this. I know I said 6 examples, but just as a warm-up, and then we'll get into the other ones. What if I asked you what's 3/5 divided by 7/8? So we have one fraction, another fraction, and then a whole fraction together. This is called a complex fraction if you have multiple fractions inside of another fraction. So the way that we handle this is we say that this is the same thing as 3/5 divided by 7/8. We write it horizontally, and then we keep, change, flip. So the answer would be 24/35. That's a warm-up problem. So let's see the examples I have for you today. First problem looks like this. We're going to be simplifying 5a squared minus 20 divided by 2a plus 2. We're going to be dividing that whole thing by 10a minus 20 divided by 4a. First step that we want to do is let's write it horizontally. 5a squared minus 20 over 2a plus 2 divided by 10a minus 20 divided by 4a. Next step, it rhymes with tractor. We're going to factor. Take out a 5, and we're left with a squared minus 4. Take out a 2, we're left with a plus 1. Divided by, take out a 10, you're left with a minus 2. And 4a is fine just the way it is. At this point, I know that this is a special case, so we're going to factor that some more. And while we're at it, we'll keep change, flip the second one. So 5 times a plus 2 times a minus 2 divided by 2 times a plus 1. And we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. And at this point, it's similar to problems that we did last week. If we're multiplying by the same thing we're dividing, they cancel. On top, we wind up with 20a times a plus 2 divided by 2 times 10 is 20, and a plus 1. So the 20s cancel. Oh, my voice just squeaked. You could laugh. It's funny when it does that. A times a plus 2, all divided by a plus 1. That would be a final answer. Now, simplify means we cancel out common factors like what we did over here. It's totally fine to leave your answer like this. If you were to multiply the a in, that's not any more or less simplified. You could do that if you want. It's not necessary, so I'm just going to leave it alone. Next problem looks like this. Alright, let's see, it says 8x squared minus 72 divided by 5x plus 10. The whole thing being divided by 4x minus 12 divided by 5x. So this is similar to the last one that we did. I'm going to write it horizontally, and then I'm going to factor. Go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal while we're at it. And I'm going to factor out a 4 from the top. We're still not done factoring. This is a difference of perfect squares. We can cancel out our common factors. And it looks like we wind up with 40x times x plus 3 divided by 20 times x plus 2. 40 divided by 20 is just 2 over 1. So that's why the answer would look like this. Next problem, how about this one? 3 over x plus 5 divided by 4 plus 6 over x squared. Now, when we are adding and subtracting fractions, we do need something. It's called the common denominator. And the way that we get a common denominator is we multiply the top and bottom by that least common denominator. So let me show you what I mean. Like if I asked you what's 1/2 plus 3, you'd multiply the 3 by 2 over 2. For this fraction, what we could do is we could multiply top and bottom by x over x. And for the 4, we can multiply top and bottom by x squared over x squared. That would allow us to combine the top. It would be 3 over x plus 5x over x. So we could just combine the whole top. And we could combine the whole bottom. 4x squared plus 6 all over x squared. Now that we have one fraction divided by one fraction, we could write it horizontally. I'm going to keep change flip. And it looks like we could actually factor out a 2 from the top here. Not that it's going to do us anything, but we should always factor anyway. And if we're multiplying by x squared and we're dividing by x, if I were to write them on top of each other, x squared over x, that would just be x to the first. So I'm going to have an x to the first on top, cancels out with an x on the bottom, and I get 3 plus 5x, and then on the bottom I have 2 times 2x squared plus 3. That's all we could do for this problem. Sometimes not a whole lot cancels out, but that's how you would do that. Alright, so there's 2 more problems I have. Let's take a look at this one, number 4. I think I said 6, but I included the warm-up, so 2 more problems here. Let's do 2 over 5 plus x divided by 3 over x plus 2. Same thing as before, we're going to get a common denominator by multiplying top and bottom by the LCD. And this gives us 2 plus 5x over 5. The whole thing we're going to divide by 3 plus 2x over x. If we write it horizontally, 2 plus 5x over 5 divided by 3 plus 2x over x. And then we're going to keep change flip. There's not really anything that cancels here. I mean, you could distribute the x in, but remember what I said, if the directions are simplified, that just means cancel out our common factors, and there are no common factors. So this would be the answer. And our last problem today, what if it says x minus to the negative first plus 7 divided by 3 plus x to the negative second. Now you don't want to bring this to the bottom and this to the top. You can only do that if you're multiplying. So if it was 7 times x to the negative first, that's okay. 3 times x to the negative second, that's okay to do that. But that's not what it is. You're adding and subtracting. So the way that we have to handle a problem like this is we have to write the x on top as 1 over x. And we have to write the x to the negative second as 1 over x to the second. What we want to do is get a common denominator, so I'll multiply this x over x. We can multiply the 3 by x squared over x squared. So now it's a problem just like before. We get 1 plus 7x divided by x, and the whole thing is being divided by 3x squared plus 1 divided by x squared. Let's write it horizontally. And then we can keep, change, flip. And just like before, we can't really cancel a whole lot here. I mean, if we rearrange this so x squared is over x, you know that would just turn into x to the first. So we really just have an x to the first on top times 1 plus 7x. And then on the bottom, all we're left with is 3x squared plus 1. That would be the best answer. You could distribute the x if you feel like it, but it doesn't make it better or worse by doing that. For homework, what I would like you to please do is on page 566. I would like you to please do numbers 15, 37 to 42. And on practice 9.3, I would like you to please do numbers 9 to 12. Now on practice 9.3, I put a picture of it on my Google Classroom, but there are going to be problems where it's like the last couple examples, like number 11. I'll do this in the homework review, but it's a little bit hard to see. The problem says y to the 4th minus 81 divided by xy plus 4y plus 3x plus 12. And then it has another line, and it's going to say y squared plus 9. What this is asking you to do is it's asking you to do y to the 4th minus 81, which is a perfect square, over xy plus 4y plus 3x plus 12, factor by grouping, and divide that whole thing by y squared plus 9. So that's what that means. The thicker line separates the numerator from the denominator. All right, so good luck with the homework. I will see you tomorrow. Hope you have a nice day.